I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Do you want to mute everybody or?
I just did. Yep, you're
Okay.
good.
All right. Can everybody see my screen? I'm
Sure
going to
can.
start here with my page number one. This is QuiltMotion X for foundations for the domestic machine. And this is updates. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the processes, getting you through that little anxieties that you're feeling to get you started and show you how easy it is to actually get moving with your QuiltMotion X. Okay, so notice the little bears. That's called Where's Teddy? And then we're going to go to page two. So I wanted to cover a little bit about credits, okay, and how to use them from the design store. So I wanted to show you when you pull up your account, you'll see the credits remaining. And look, where this top hand is pointing, this account has 3 credits, okay, that they can use to purchase a design. It's a credit per design. All right. So you'll go in and pick your design, and then rather than paying for it, you'll just use that credit. All right. And then once you use that credit, if you go to your screen on your tablet and you hit the refresh, then it will show up. And this is that screen. So it's going to show up right here. So notice that my bumbling bees showed up once I tapped on refresh. It's just really easy. Now, I had a customer last week, we covered uploading designs in a different file format and converting them into an SVG file format to work with QMX. If you purchase a design from another store, it works for QLI and CQP, but you have to do that on the website. You have to convert them on the website and then pull them over into QMX. So if you want to know how to do that, watch, and we'll put these online so that you can watch them and follow along and learn how to do that. That was from last week. All right. So now let's jump in. And I wanted to also show you because we've had a lot of people not know where to go to get some extra help. So we do have a lot of helps and they're being updated all the time. So you'll notice that with this new automation, you're constantly getting updates and we're also changing things in it as we're making the updates. So we're changing the help files. We're putting new videos in there so that you can watch and learn and grow with all these new updates. So this is the screen right here that takes you to your quilt functions and buttons. Then you have your settings. Then you have your help where you can go in and find all the helps, your library for your designs and stuff. And then this takes you directly to the website. Notice you have to be connected to go and tap on the website, and you can shop and browse designs if you are connected. All right, I wanted to talk about simulation mode. Simulation mode is when you are not connected to the hardware. And it just takes you through these buttons here. And then you can explore and learn how to utilize the buttons and functions. So anyway, notice that my machine's not detected. So if I moved forward, I would be in simulation mode. It's a great way to learn how the buttons are going to react. All right, here we go to the library. I just wanted to show you if you clicked on these and you were connected, where it would take you. And takes you to the library. This one is the help. Takes you to all these little help videos, and you have more helps going down it with all the different processes. So explore the help center. If you aren't understanding something, you chances are you can find how to work through your situation or your problem through the help center. Okay, and then we're getting to the new updates. Okay, so you'll notice that yesterday, if you opened up your new QMX, you had a major update. And this is what's new. They've added grid line customization. added crosshairs to the edit screen. We didn't have those before. We added measurements to the pantograph, added clear all features, but it just says clear filters, doesn't say clear all, to the design library, added inches remaining to the sew screen, and we set the frame space from any point, clockwise or counterclockwise, and fixed frame design zoom consistency and improved SVG compatibility. All right, so that's what we're going to kind of cover right now. And I wanted to show you, this is the filter, okay? So the clear filters, if you wanted to search for a design in your little library of your designs, I put B in here and I pulled up all my so-called B designs. I don't know where it got some of the others, but anyway, if you just wanted to clear those, this will pop up and it's clear filters. So that's one thing that's new. All right, let's move on. Right now, here's in your settings screen. So you've got your grid size where you can change it. This will really help you as you're placing and sizing your design. You can change the grid size from 1 inch to 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. So play with that and explore that. And that's in the settings again. And then we have our measurements. You can turn the measurements for the pantographs on or off. I would just keep them on. Does it hurt to know the measurements of your design? And I want you to notice how it's measuring. It's measuring from the start point up to the top, and it gives you different measurements for how you're quilting. So utilize that and it'll make easier work of placing your designs and keeping them consistent. All right, so on the profile, this is in the settings. You can go and change your profile if you have to change your email. And the quilting settings, this is where you will rehome and change your frame space if you need to. And then in the system, this is where you'll check for updates, the firmware, and QuiltMotion X info. This is where you'll find all these interesting things that you need to know and understand. It shows you the software version that you're on. So sometimes when you call the text, they'll ask you what version you're on. So this is where you'll go in the settings to the system, and it gives you all this information. All right, next thing I want to talk about the new frame space update, okay? So as long as you're setting the frame space, you can start in any particular area, but your foot has to be up against the take-up rail, and that's this pole right here, if you see where I'm pointing. Okay, so make sure your foot, and you can start from the center, go around it, or you can start at one end or the other. But the secret to it is that where you start, you have to end. So if you start in the center, you have to end in the center. You can't end right here, or you're not going to have your complete frame space. All right, so they made that change after watching everybody get confused about going from left to right all the way around. All right, let's move on. All right, so we're going to talk about designs and some of the changes in the pantograph. This is new for the update. So when you go and pick your design, you're going to pull it in. And when you go to set the height of your design, you'll notice you have the horizontal flip and the vertical flip. We had the vertical flip, but the horizontal, when you placed it, it changes the start point to be the start point on the left side, because that's how you're going to sew across your quilt. So very cool changes, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Then you can just reset it to the size that you want. So you'll notice that this is flipped and this is flipped differently. And notice my start point on each one of them. If you can see that little green dot, when I flipped it, it stays right here on the left side. Cool change, you guys. All right, So now talk about placing and the measurements, okay? So when you go into place your design, you'll notice these awesome measurements, and it's showing you from the start point to the bottom how much area, so that when you place it up above, notice that we have this little measurement above our start point as well. From where it starts to the top, where it starts to the bottom. So you get two measurements right here. So when you're going to place it, you can place it off the edge of your quilt. And you'll notice that the crosshairs actually help you identify where you're at and where you're placing it. So now you'll see this red line. It means you're out of your safe area. You cannot quilt this design because part of it is going to quilt out. So use the crosshairs, use the measurements, and we're going to show you a little video here in just a little bit about how to utilize it and use it. All right, so here's a little bit more about the flip. I really want to encourage you, if you're going to flip your designs, horizontal, vertical, whatever, is maybe make a little test run and see how. So you'll notice that I have my little bumbling bees. I have the flower as my start point, and then I flipped it horizontally, so my bee was. So it's kind of a staggered design. So this is going to be a really fun, cool feature for you as a quilter. All right. And then I have flipped this, but I also flipped it upside down. So I did the vertical and the horizontal. Sew them out first before you actually put it on a quilt, so you know which direction or how you want to flip it and how you want to customize it. All right, and here's a little bit more, okay, of some designs. I have my little dancing penguins. I flipped them, and this one I flipped horizontal and vertical. So you could see the different ways of what it's going to look like. This is one that we actually sewed out, the mumbling bees, and it's just kind of fun. Turned out really cute. All right, so the next point is for the updates is I call it the endpoint countdown. This is a system you really don't want to walk away from. And so I'm just going to show you really quick in this video what it looks like. Okay, so I want to show you one of the new updates is the endpoint countdown. You can see how it's traveling through. We're starting to get to. I wanted to show you on the screen what it looks like. It's not the carrying part. Sorry, I'm moving a lot, you guys. So look where the pause is. 4 inches, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Sorry. Now we're finished. All right. That's endpoint countdown. Very cool update, and I know you'll love it. Okay. So now we're going to jump in. I'm going to show you a couple of videos of how to aligning the top edge of your quilt for edge-to-edge design. All right. So to make sure we're not going to hit the sides and we're going to be able to sew off the edge of our quilt with our placement, we move our machine all the way over, and it is hitting, but that's okay. It's going to start right here and then move across. Now we could adjust it and tweak it just slightly if we wanted to. You could pull it slightly. And that way we'll be okay, because we know we're going to have two sections. All right, stop. Okay, so the next one is, and if you pull your machine over to the left side, it'll help you align your left side much better and much more accurate. So this one here is a picture of the overall quilt. Notice how we have this space or this little gap of our batting showing. And on the side as well. And I have actually made my backing and my batting wider than my top. I can't stress that enough, and that you need to actually make it wider and longer. That will accommodate you quilting off the edges of your quilt, because this is when you're quilting a simple pantograph edge to edge designs. So this little video right here is talking about tacking down. So we're tacking down the edges. See, we have a little bit and we don't know how far it's going to come. We do know we're sewing off the edges, so we will have to tack it down. Every time you move it. Okay, always tack down the edges of your quilt. Every time you move, just make it a practice to tack them down. All right, so that's talking about, now I want to show you some changes. So for block placement, and we're going to go through a lot more videos, you guys. For block placement, now the default is it's going to stretch. So it's going to stretch all the way to the corners. If you don't want the stretch on, you just turn it off, just like we've shown you before. Now you can rotate and flip in the stretch as well. And that just makes it a little more intuitive, where you can really customize and get the look that you want for your block. Make sure you're picking out the block design that you want. But this screen here is just talking about after you place it, see that it's green, you're going to rotate and flip. All right, and I wanted to show you the difference. See my little gingerbread boy? He is stretched, and notice how he's touching all the edges of my quilt. This one's fit. So you guys can decide whether or not you want the stretch on or off. To me, it doesn't matter which way you pick and choose, just as long as you understand what the defaults are and what the buttons that you need to turn them on and off are, so that you can get the look that you want to achieve your beautiful quilt. All right, next and last bit, you can flip them horizontal and vertical, and this is showing you the rotate. Okay, once you rotate, you need, if you're going to pick a new design, hit reset, and that will reset it so it's at a regular degree and not the 45. So it just takes a room. One thing I wanted to talk about is to make sure that you are changing your needles. Everybody, we don't do this enough. I can't stress it. You know, when we're piecing, we push those needles as long and as hard as we can to utilize them. But if you're using a domestic machine, other than the little Rebel, then you will need to use a size 14 needle. That's a denim needle. It gives you a bigger eye and it'll give you a better quilting experience, okay? But change it. Every quilt, it should be a new needle. It'll make your tension better. It'll make it sew or quilt that much nicer as you're quilting. If you're using the little Rebel, which I truly encourage because it's a great quilting machine, you will use either a 16 or a size 18. Now for sewing with the little Rebel, you can use the 12 or 14, but for quilting, it's the 16 or the 18. And the 18 is for our finesse thread because it's a polyester thread. And if you're using cotton thread, it's a size 16. So the thread determines the needle size. All right. Well, now we're going to talk about a block placement, and then I'm going to go through and show you the setup of how to put your quilt on the frame, because I really feel like that will take away some of those anxieties and the intimidation of getting started. I'm hoping it does, okay? So here's my little video on block placement. Okay, we're placing our design on our block. And she's moving all four corners. And because it's a circular design, okay, notice how the design's stretched top to bottom, side to side, okay? Now we're going to tap on next. Okay. Now we're going to quilt it out. we don't want to rotate it or anything like that because it's the same whether we flip it or rotate. Now we're going to get ready to move to start point, and it's going to start in the middle, or sort of in the middle. We're pulling up our threads. After we've pulled up our threads, see how easy that is? We move to start, and next, and we're gonna start our countdown. All right, that was the countdown. When Jerry placed the designs, notice she put the foot just inside the corner. So it's totally up to you. If you want to stretch it all the way to the corner, you can. Or if you want to put the foot on the inside, that's fine as well. A lot of quilters do, just to make sure it doesn't sew outside the edges. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to go through the process of putting the quilt on the frame to get it ready for quilting. All right, so beautiful Jerry's going to put the quilt on. We're going to show you the process of putting your quilt on. I want you all to notice how much wider my sides are and how I've given me some space so I can line everything up. So what she's doing is putting it on the frame, and notice that we've pulled the machine over so it's almost to where you're homing it so that she can align it with the foot. Okay. You do want to, when you put it on, have a little bit of space right here, you guys. So she put her first clip on, and now she's going to go across. And then she's going to put her clips on. All right, now we've got tacking down the edges. Oh, that was on. So notice right here how we've come in just a little bit too much. Now, if you were sewing off the edge of your quilt, okay, if you were sewing off the edge of your quilt, as the foot is coming back, it's going to fold over and, you know, keep sewing. So we're going to show you how to sew right along the edge to keep that from happening. So if it does come out and fold over, it's just going to be a little bit, not a lot. So try to keep your foot as close to the edge, especially if you're quilting off the edge of your quilt. Just make it a practice and you'll get a better experience. And then your binding, you won't have it fold over into your binding and showing up. All right, and this last picture is just tacking down the edges across the top. So now Jerry's done the side, the left side. Now she's going to move across and tack down her top. And she's going to stay right. Notice we're not going to come down the right side because our quilt we're going to be shifting. She kind of hit the clip there, but she could have taken it off and gone across the top like she did on this one here. There we go. No, and you'll go as far as you can to tack it down. Okay, that's part of the process. I'm jumping to a different quilt, but that's okay. This is marking your first placement. Okay, so we are marking our first placement, okay? Okay, so notice I'm going to move up to the screen and what it looks like. On the screen, my crosshairs are where I'm at on my quilt, on the design. Now she's going to move it across the quilt and place her right side. All right? Notice what we're doing. Did you tap on the end? Yeah. All right. So notice what it looks like on its place now. But now she's going to move the crosshairs, and you can see where they're at as you're moving across. So right there on the edge of the quilt and above.
So it's above.
So it really is a good indicator of where the design is going to sew out or quilt out as you're quilting. All right, I just wanted to show you how invaluable the crosses are. You guys utilize them and learn how to use them as you're placing your design and as you're quilting, because they'll help with your spacing on your design, and they'll also help you get the settings correct at the top of your quilt all the way down. Okay, and then we just begin your design. Now we're going to get ready to quilt out our quilt design. Going to pull up our threads. Start our move to start point. They okay? Gonna start our sew countdown. Oh, it's loading the design right now. It takes a minute because it's a dense design. So give it a minute. There will be a long pause on this video. Now we're going to start our countdown. When it gets to 1, we start the machine, and it's going to start quilting it out. All right, so now we're going into our next group, okay? We've sewn our first section of our design. I wanted to show you how to shift it and quilt out the next section, okay? Like I told you, there are a lot of short little videos here. So we are going to shift our quilt to do this next little section. See, it didn't finish quilting it out. And so we're going to leave this clamp on, and we're going to just leave it on, undo it, and pull it across. All right? That way, that's all we have to do, because it's not that large. So sorry, I veered off. Then we're going to reclamp it. All right, sorry you guys, I veered off because I was trying to help point the direction. So all we did is we took these first two clips on the left side off, because we're shifting it towards the left, and we left the right clip on, okay? And we just slid it across. We took all the other clips off, just enough so that we could finish up our design. All right, and then we're going to move it where the other one stopped. Pull up our threads. Bring it back. We're going to finish that one section. We placed it in the new section. So we placed our first placement right over where the first set of designs ended. So that's my left side placement. Then I'm going to pull it across and place my right side off the edge of my quilt. And this is where it's starting to quilt. And I want you to notice how cleanly it came together. So those are little short videos so that you can understand the process. Okay. So now we're going to measure for our next section, because we quilted all the way across in our two little, what we call zones. We did the first one, which is a little longer, and our second section, which was a little shorter, and we brought them together. And now we're going to measure for our next row down. Okay. So we're measuring to mark where we're going to place our next design row, okay, or zone. So it's 6 inches. My pattern is 6 inches.
So we're gonna go down 6 inches.
And this is where it's going to start. So you're measuring 6 inches from the start point. Okay? On both sides, because you should have a mark on both sides. All right.
Yeah, because we have to
So now
take-
we can shift it up and move our quilt up. After you get your placements, and I can't stress this enough, after you mark, then you can shift. Otherwise, you're going to have to take it off and pull it back down and make your marks. So always be prepared to mark. And if you're marking off on the batting, you can use a Sharpie or a dark pen. But if you're marking on your quilt, tape is good, or chalk, or something that you can get rid of, because you don't want permanent marker on your beautiful quilt. Okay. And then you'll shift up for your new section. And then you'll reposition and tack down your quilt. And those are just photos that I wanted you to see. All right. So we're almost done, you guys. I wanted to show you how beautifully the design's quilted out. This is the front, the top, and this is the back, okay? And we used the Little Rebel. And I have to give a shout out to our Little Rebel because I did 6 zones. Well, more than 6 zones and no thread breaking. And I was able to change my bobbin. And so it worked out well. And so if you're even interested in the Little Rebel at all, you can make it a dedicated quilting machine. It has an M-class bobbin and it quilts and it sews. And so it's a great, awesome machine. And just look how beautiful the stitching is. All right. That's my presentation. We're going to open it up for question and answer. I just want to say happy holidays from the Grace Company, and go and visit us at our website at graceframe.com.